Do you need encouragement to turn tragedies into your own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Perdue.
Hi, hey, come on in. It's time for us to get started. Time to get some motivation, some inspiration, get one little good nugget off this podcast, something you can hang on to for when that next trial, tribulation, challenge, difficult, you know what I'm talking about, something to hope you can use to hold on to help you get through that next thing. And as I've always say, pay it forward. Use something you've learned, help out the next person ahead of you. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to do something a little new this time. We're going to do what we're going to call here. If it'll work, push button. Come on, button. You're not pushing. Where are you at? There it is. 60 seconds of mojo. You get that? 60 seconds mojo. Other people have 1 minute motivation. Let's change it. 60 seconds of mojo. This is your daily reminder just how incredible you truly are. Your laughter, your kindness, the way you lift others up, even when you feel life is heavy. That's real strength. You should be showing up with your heart, and it makes you powerful beyond measure. And if anyone tries to dim your light, just remind them their judgment says more about them than it ever will about you. Keep shining. The world needs you. And now let's move it on here to the guest, the power of the show today, the one and we'll call the only, Poonam Bhuchar. I don't know if that was right.
That's perfect.
Well, you're just too generous. You're too nice. So, all right. And so here she's going to discuss with us. She has over here surviving sexual assault, attempted suicide, and arranged marriage. And the divorce is one thing. Boy, it's a lot of one things. But proceeding with all that pain so you can live a full life is something entirely different. If you got a mouthful in there, that's definitely stuff to go through. And I've heard your speech because we're both in a contest, and you kind of whooped my butt the other day.
Not at all,
so
James.
You
Not
did awesome.
all.
You did great. And I've already told multiple people, you definitely set the standard up high, and I set the standard low. So everybody else is in between us.
I completely disagree with that. I object.
Well, I appreciate that. Build me up a little bit when I'm down. All right, so Poonam, so let's tell you what we'll do is we'll let you throw us in where we need to be started, and we'll follow from there.
Well,
and
James,
thank you for being here.
No, first of all, thank you for having me. And I got to say, I've been on a lot of podcasts, but yours is so fun. I loved your intro, and it's a true reflection of just who you are and what I've gotten to know through these Zooms. You really are the light to this all. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And I'll explain later or even off air how the reason I started this. No, this is your time to shine, and we're going to let you run with it. And I'll whisper, hey, everybody else, she thinks I'm a professional. So, hey, also before we get going here, she is also an author, TEDx speaker, and author of the book Safe from the Pain. All right, out of the darkness into the life that frees, happy and good. So, all right. Nice book. Is that you on the cover there doing your Titanic, thing on edge?
It was actually just meant to be. It's not me, but the image was supposed to be of somebody that is just free and liberated and dancing.
There you go.
All the pain.
I can see the dress skirt where it's flying from the dancing. So yeah, it looks good. It's a nice book. All right. Have at it, baby. It's yours.
So, I mean, I guess we're discussing how to live a free and happy life after we've been through so much crap in life, right?
Mm-hmm. We've been there before.
Everybody's got a story.
You
It
know,
doesn't.
the sad thing is we get through one bottle of box of crap, and we're going to be stepping one later on down the line. We just don't know it sometimes. That's the
Agreed.
way life happens.
Agreed. And nobody has a straight line, right? But
Exactly.
I think it's everybody comes with their own stories, no one more valid than another.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's story is important to them. And one thing that I've learned in life after dealing with 4 decades of unresolved trauma is deal with that damn trauma, because otherwise it just catches up and it filters into every aspect of your life, the decisions that you make, the way you behave, the patterns you create, and it affects your relationships. It affects everything. We need to stop shoving it under a rug and pretending it doesn't exist. So, especially I think from the generation we come from, society's told us to pull up our socks, boys don't cry, women just get on with it. And that's really not the way it should be.
It shouldn't be. You're correct, because I'm more than 4 decades with you. I'm 6 decades. Okay, and so definitely growing up, boys didn't cry. If you did fall and get hurt, rub some dirt on it and move on. From there.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm 5 decades, just so that we're clear, 4 decades to resolve my trauma, but a decade and a bit into cleaning.
There you go. Okay.
But yeah, I agree. I think it was, even for me, from a cultural perspective, coming from a South Asian family as well, that was born and raised in London, but was divided between 2 different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
I was battling not just the fact that we don't talk about certain things, but also the guilt of my immigrant parents working really, really hard to provide such a great life for me and my siblings, that you didn't want to do anything that was going to cause them pain. So you just shoved it down and dealt with it.
Yeah. Yep. And so, but no, go ahead with this. I'm interested in it a little bit, of course, all of it. The sexual assault, I don't want to get into the details. We just know that happened. But the arranged marriage, did the arranged marriage lead to the other stuff? How long in the arranged marriage did y'all, before you got married? The only reason I know a little bit, but just very little, is I got a friend that we met back in high school, and he's from South Korea, and he had an arranged marriage. I'm not sure how old he was, but they corresponded from, I guess, South Korea with him in America for a year, writing letters back and forth before they finally got to see each other to get married.
Yeah, I mean, very similar. So my sexual assault happened in high school when I was 13 years old. It was a very public event. The bullying that pursued. If you can imagine something like that happening in high school, and the bullying that pursues and the rumors that go around from there. And it was just too much, because I didn't feel like I could go home and say anything. So I was dealing with it every day coming into school. It was just some rumor or another, and it just became too much. I was dealing with the pain of what happened and then everything else. And I just literally just wanted to end it all. Or I'm not sure whether I wanted to end it all because I didn't know how to communicate.
Yeah.
That was my form of crying for help and communicating. I'm not quite sure when I look back on it. But
you definitely want to end the other pain that was associated, and you were figuring this is the way to end that pain.
Right. That emotional pain was just, it goes into the pit of your stomach, your daily life, and add bullying to that, and it just becomes tenfold. I also
do you think at that age, 13, and I'll give you my answer, do you think girls are more more intrigued to hurt other girls than guys are to help hurt guys?
Wow, James, that's
my answer would be yes. I taught
That's such
seventh
a
grade. I
perceptive
taught seventh
question.
grade. I taught seventh grade science for a while, and watching these girls attack each other, guys, they get mad, they fight it out, and they're done with it.
So it's really interesting you asked that
Yeah,
question because it's never ever hit me until you asked it.
that's why I'm the professional. I come up with the questions people didn't think of. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
but it's actually true. The people that defended me in school were mainly guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was the girls that had an opinion, and some of the guys, but my closest people that were defending me were guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think rather it's easier to blame than understand why things happened. And for me, the blame that the girls were saying was, well, you didn't do anything to stop it. You didn't go to a teacher. You didn't do this. This
Yeah.
has been going on. But whereas the guys that were protected were much more empathetic about what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and having a daughter who's now 22, I agree. Seventh and having a son too. I think seventh, eighth grade girls are the worst grades to be in because
Yes,
it's awful.
it is. It can be. Yeah, and that if you're not in that clique, then they're out to go after you. So
Yeah, that's why we underdogs got together afterwards, right?
that's right. That's right. And then, of course, we go back. I would love to see. There's probably got to be some research there. I would love to read it. That when people get, I don't know, like we said, 5 decades into life, how people turned out from high school. And I would love to see if the underdogs exceed what the other people. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I'd be really interested, but somehow I think that would be the case because I think we've had to fight through life, life for life.
Exactly. Yeah, we've had to fight all through it. Yeah.
Yeah, and just appreciate every little blessing that we have.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, sorry to hear about all the sexual thing. It just amazes me that people are that so insecure about themselves they have to drag other people down and just beat them up and sexual assault. And I just can't understand it. So, and I wouldn't say that you put yourself into position with it. It's just other people took advantage of it from there. It's what it was. They knew exactly what they were going to be doing. So.
Right. But I think when you go through life and the work that I've done on myself and through writing the book, I think you come to understand that people behave a certain way because they've had trauma in their own lives.
Yes.
And
What they're trying to do is pull themselves up to make them feel good. They have to beat someone else or take advantage of the other people to make them feel good because again, they've been beat up so bad from life, from mom and dad or other people, older people, whatever it is. And the reason they do what they do is because they think this is the way life's supposed to be, for one thing. And so I got to go knock someone else down for me to feel good.
Yeah. And I also think that's why what I've started to do, what I've been doing the last 2-3 years is so important to me because as we start, if we were to hold ourselves accountable for our emotional well-being, I really do believe, as corny as it sounds, the generational trauma will reduce. And until we do that, we're just going to affect our relationships, our children, everything around us. But I think as individuals, if we start being held accountable, not just for physical pain, but our emotional pain, and not being allowed to act as victims, but have to hold ourselves accountable to dealing with the things that we're going through, I really do think we would be kinder to each other and have a better world.
I agree. Yeah, we definitely got to stay accountable. Okay, for everybody, for each and all. That is true. I love what you're foreseeing. I don't see it happening. And here's my one and only right now. I was at a ball game one day, and there's this one woman we're watching a baseball game, and one woman's over knitting away during the game, just knitting. That's all she's doing, just knitting the game. And then she'll hear the thing, da 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 da, and she'll go while she's knitting, charge. And right below me were these older women about her age, and they're videotaping her and making fun of her on Facebook because she's at a ball game knitting instead of watching the game, and let her do her own thing. And here's women her age again posting it and then making fun of her for it. And I was good. Great. This is pathetic. Can't even be in a ball game and enjoy it your way because it's different than the way they're doing it.
Yeah.
But that just shows to me with those couple of women what their life is about already. You know, that you're not in their little home clique. And so they're going to make fun of them.
And that's what I think. I think that's why we all have to be held accountable so that we don't need, technically, you shouldn't need to be part of a clique, right? If you're whole and your trauma has been healed or whatever you've been through, you don't need to be part of a clique. I have amazing friends of 30 years, 15 years, 20 years, but I don't feel like I need to be part of a clique. I don't have FOMO because I'm confident in what I'm doing and I feel whole in what I'm doing myself.
Hey, you got a new friend here for 6 weeks now. So, all right. A big supporter of you. All right. I'm a big supporter of you.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Again, all right. Now, I don't want to get into like all the other stuff with the sexual law. Again, sorry it happened and everything. So did that lead into your attempted suicide as we were mentioning that? Again, it was more to get rid of the pain, not necessarily you wanted to leave, but this was the only out you thought of at the time.
Right. And that was what led to the attempted suicide. But the attempted suicide, I didn't really resolve trauma. I can't fault my parents. They've worked, coming from India to the UK, they worked so hard financially, everything to raise their 3 kids. And it's not a joke. They had no fallback position. So I went to therapy a couple times and then stopped. And my parents didn't come from a background, right, where therapy is common. And we're also talking 40 something years ago. So therapy was viewed in a very different light. So I never really resolved that trauma, and I was carrying shame and guilt, and I always felt less than everybody else. I wasn't really paying attention in school. My grades weren't the greatest. And so it's just a cyclical thing that when you feel bad in one thing and you continue that lack of worthiness in other things, you just feel crap all around, right? And that starts to imprint itself on your personality, which is what happened to me. I would get involved in every charity. I was on the sports teams, but internally I was feeling really, really just awful and carrying that shame. And then there was a cultural expectation of the way that I would get married. So I finally ended up doing really well when I got to college, and I wanted to go to law school. But my parents had put forward to me about this arranged marriage with somebody in the US. And I'd met him once. And I had my biggest fit. And then I knew I kind of just resigned myself to it. And the resigning myself to it was, well, I'm carrying shame and guilt culturally. Nobody's going to marry me. And this is what I'm worthy of. And, gave up my position in law school, came out to the US to meet him one more time. And he'd already said yes. And in, I think, half a day, I said yes. I remember my mum saying, I'm not so sure this is the right thing for you, like this person, this family, this person.
Yeah.
And from my lack of worthiness, my response to my mother was, Ma, your daughter's not the Queen of England, okay? That's a reflection of who I felt I was at that time.
Exactly. You're telling Mama that this is the best I'm going to get.
Yeah, but she didn't understand where it was coming from. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm sure you done like most of us. You played the happy role around Mom and Dad the best you could.
Yeah.
But when you're by yourself, you're miserable, depressed, and stuff. But around I did that when I first got hurt. Is tried my best to put the happy face on because I didn't want my brothers and mother to worry about me.
Yeah.
But then when I'd go to bed, with the lights off, they didn't know what was going on. So I'm sure, like you said, your mom didn't know that, wouldn't understood that because you were different to her than your reality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. And if I had my tantrum, it's just a teenage girl normally having her normal tantrum. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, James, I think the other thing that always happens is when you become disassociated from that pain and you live out here, you've become further and further removed from the pain. You get a sadness, but you don't even know what that sadness is because you've been living, like in your case, you were being funny and humorous. In my case, it was just I was being ambitious and living this life of I want to be a lawyer, and I don't care what happens. This is what's going to happen. But you start to become removed from who you really are. And I think that's where the real problem starts to lie. So for me, when I went into this arranged marriage, believe it or not, even till the day that I got married, I knew this wasn't for me. I knew that there was something wrong with this and this person was not for me. But I still did it because I didn't trust my gut. I didn't believe my gut. And the way I live my life now is whatever's in my gut comes first. Doesn't matter.
Oh, yes.
Doesn't matter what everybody else says.
Let me ask this. Also, would it be because of being an arranged marriage, you just fell in line? You just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
This is the way it's supposed to be. I have no say so anyway. I mean, they've already got it, like I said, arranged. So if I balk or make a move, then I'm the one that looks like the bad person or whatever.
Yeah. And it's also, nobody put a gun to my head. My mom even said at one point, but I felt like this was the only way that I was ever going to get married. Yeah. So I was 21 years old. I left my family in the UK and came to a US in a place I didn't know, in a family I didn't know. I had no friends, nothing. And yeah, it was about, well, when I know this is the way it's going to be, why am I going to rock the boat?
Yeah. Boy. And I thought I had bad when I lost the game pitching. Wow. But Kim, yeah, we're talking about this arranged marriage. Kim, that's that friend of mine from South Korea. Came to America when we were 17. We met in high school, and we're still friends up to today, this many years later. But yeah, he had got that arranged marriage, like I said, and I just know that he had written letters back and forth for a year before he actually got to see her. And they're still married, and I want to say 3 kids. And actually, here coming in a couple of months, one of his child's getting married. So he said he got to meet the in-laws. So
amazing. I think, you know what, arranged marriages do work, as do love marriages. That's why we have all the Love is Blind, Married at First Sight.
Yes.
Stuff, right? But I really do think it's about who you are and how you go into it. If you go in with unresolved trauma, and in our case, I think 2 people came together that had unresolved trauma, right? And we were very young, 21 and 23. I mean, I've got a 22 and 24-year-old. If I ever got them married, I would laugh because they're just starting out their lives. What do you know at 22 and 24?
Yeah.
And we were 21 and 23. So I think there were a lot of factors for us. But I also think whether it's arranged or love, it's how well do you know yourself as a person, right? Being a divorce lawyer, doing divorce coaching, a lot of it stems down to what is the baggage in the package that you are bringing to the marriage, and how much have you done to work through it and resolve it? Because what a lot of people do is they end up projecting what they need on the other party when really it's us that needs to fix certain things.
Yes, because you're going to be together as us. So us has got to work on it.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, it makes me think of this question here. When you're writing, communicating back and forth, was it more writing? Did you phone call? Did you get talk across the? Is it more writing?
It was writing, because phone calls from the US to the UK at that point were like £3 a minute. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. So, but I was just wondering, so did you open up with anything bad, or it just all the good stuff that you want him to know about you? And of course, he's sending all the good stuff he wants you to know, and then y'all don't find out about your other stuff until you get together.
No, I was up front before I got married.
Okay, good.
I was up. There was no way I was entering. But even being up front, right? I would say he was less upfront about his stuff.
Yeah.
But even being upfront didn't mean that I'd resolved it, and him not being upfront
exactly
meant he wasn't even accepting it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just because you're opening it up doesn't mean you're fully ready. You're fully healed. So,
right.
Okay. All right. I was just wondering about that part. So, all right. So, not to push the divorce, but how long were y'all married? And you had 2 beautiful kids.
Yeah,
so,
13 years and 2 beautiful children.
There you go. It's sad when I hear other friends that I went to school with and they talk their divorce and stuff. And it's sad when I hear the only thing good out of it was the 2 children or 3, and I'm going, wow. I mean, I hate to think I was that long and that much investments. And the only thing you say is to 2 kids. I mean, surely there got to be more into that than that, but still.
And James, that's where I think perspective comes in, right?
Yeah.
You heard me say I was the best victim out there. I really was. I was fantastic at playing the victim after my divorce for a while. Because, I'd left countries, I'd left my family. I was stuck in a country. I had 2 young kids. I had no family here. It was tough. Lost everything. But when I started to do my own healing through my SAFE method, it's about perspective. I would never have known who I was if I didn't go through this.
Exactly. Interviewed someone a couple of weeks ago, and she had been sexually assaulted and some other stuff. And she said, not that I'm glad, not that I would wish I'd gone through it, but I'm glad I did, because it showed me and made me who I am today.
Maybe that's what makes us bold enough to come out and speak about it, so that we can help change other people's lives. Every time I get someone say, whether it's through my coaching or my book, wow, you really helped me, you really validated my feelings, it makes it worth it. That, okay, I got this out. I remember when I had some of my family members read it, and my kids were like, Ma, this is just 10% of your life. I'm like, I know, but I need you to know before this goes out there. And they're like, we're totally fine with it, because we know there's a lot more to this. I remember one of my family members said to me, are you not worried about you being a corporate lawyer and how this is going to look to your clients? And I remember saying, and I thought about it, and I came to my own conclusion that I also practice law with my heart. I was never like, let me just bill for every single breath that I take.
Yeah.
Okay. But it was all heart. That's why I have clients from 10, 20 years ago still with me, right? And I'm like, if those people judge me and think that I am less of a lawyer because I put this out there, then they're not the right clients for me anyway. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, when this came out, the amount of support I got, that we already had respect for you, but now, it's much more. And I think those are the small steps that we take that I hope help other people feel like they have hope and light at the end of the tunnel, and that they can get through things.
I would think also, when they read your book, that they go, I can see how she's so passionate and helping me, because she's been through similar or the same. And now I can understand why she's like she is. I would think it would be a positive when they read it. Like you said, and if someone didn't like it, they're not meant to be there anyway.
Yeah, and I don't take offense. When I speak about it, I'm the first person to say that, listen, my book and my SAFE method is like a movie. You might like some movies, you may not resonate with them. And if you don't resonate please move on. And if you do, please stay.
Yeah. So, and again, for the ones, the book she's talking right there, Safe from the Pain. And SAFE is also an acronym there, isn't it? So out of the darkness into a life of free, happy, and good. All right. So SAFE, yeah, that is an acronym that you used. You used it in your speech. So I didn't know how much you want to say of it to spoil the book or anything like that.
No, I'm happy. I mean, the book goes into much more detail, but I'm happy to go through it if you'd like.
Yeah, get you a little highlight of it.
Yeah. So, I went through therapy and it just didn't work. And for some people it does. For me, it didn't. And I got to a point after I had a stroke where I was literally on my knees and I was like, I was not put on this godforsaken earth to just suffer. There has to be another meaning to life, and I need to figure out what that is. So through different spiritual practices, speaking with spiritual advisors, and doing various things like going up to Mount Shasta and cleansing and all these things, I healed my own trauma. And when I did, I'd lost everything in my life. I'd gone on to run a 7-figure law firm. I traveled the world with my kids, led a beautiful life. And everybody was like, in 2012, you were here. How the hell did you get here in 2015, 16, 17, 18? Yeah. My firm was acquired by a medium-sized firm. For marketing purposes, we affiliated. And nobody could understand how it got to that point. And when I look back, it's what I called the SAFE method. And people have used it. I've used it in business. I've used it in my personal life. I've got people that I know that when the George Floyd incident happened, was sitting on their steps when the fire was burning around them and texted me saying, my husband and I are using the SAFE method to get through this. And I was in shock. So basically, it's about not denying what we feel, going through it. And the way you go through it is, in short, S stands for stop and acknowledging that pain. When we deny ourselves the pain that we go through emotionally, it finds different outlets. It seeps into our body. It comes through in disease. We might try and whine it away, shop it away. For me, it was fibromyalgia, having 2 strokes. It was coming out physically through my health because I didn't want to deal with it. So the first is stop and acknowledge the pain and find yourselves worthy of saying that I am in pain and not be ashamed of it. And you don't have to pronounce it to the world, but at least admit it to yourself. The A is acknowledge, accept responsibility for where you are and the decisions that you've made. So example, doesn't mean that I'm to blame for everything that has happened to me. And it doesn't mean that I have control over everything that has happened to me. The things that I don't have control over, I just need to accept, breathe, and just take that moment and say, okay, I'm here, but it's a moment in time and this too shall pass. Accepting responsibility for the decisions I've made, I needed to accept responsibility that I had created patterns in my life because I didn't take care of my emotional well-being. Whether that was accepting verbal abuse, physical abuse, whatever it was from my spouse, it was, I didn't do anything to stop it. I understand it's not my fault. But had I worked on my emotional trauma, I may not have found myself in that position. And as a lawyer, I knew how to prevent certain things, but just because I felt I wasn't worthy, kept continuing. So I needed to accept that I had some responsibility in where we were, whether that's 2%, 20%, 50%, and of course, I love to say that he was 80% wrong.
That's right.
Maybe, that's me, but that's not always true. And we're in a good place now. We're on the same page for the kids. It took work, but we're there. When it comes to F, forgiveness, I talk about 3 types of forgiveness. Forgiveness of the person that you perceive as hurt you, because it is a perception. And you can either sit there and hold on to that anger, but really you're burning yourself and nobody else. So why not release it and understand that we as human beings are flawed, and maybe they had their own trauma that they were going through. And obviously I've oversimplified this. It doesn't happen in a day. You need to work through it. Forgiveness of the universe. How many of us have sat here and said, why do I get all the shitty cards? Why do I always get this? Well, maybe there's lessons in there that we need to learn. And why would we, as fellow human beings, want our fellow human beings to endure the pain that we have? So the question is, why not me? Why would I inflict this on someone else? And what are the lessons that I need to learn in here? And the third that I found the most difficult is forgiveness of yourself. We give everybody else kindness. If a friend were to ask me for advice, I would offer kindness. But for the decisions that I made in which my kids were involved, I found it really hard to forgive myself. And ultimately, I had to. And I had to forgive myself and say, I tried the best that I could at that time with what I knew. And here going forward, I commit to being the best version of myself every single day. And that's all I can do. And the E is embrace. We're all told to, embrace the good things about us, and we run away from the bad. I'm saying pull those bad things towards us and embrace them, because those are the things that make us who we are. And those are the things that when we truly face them, give us the confidence to face life and do the things that we want to, and to manifest our goals. You can't manifest if you're not emotionally cleaned out. So I say, embrace the life, embrace your mistakes, and understand that we are the masters of our own destiny and we're not victims of the world.
There we go. Yeah, I love the acronym you got for SAFE and everything. Definitely embrace what we've been through. It's part of your journey, and it's how you're going to, like you say, perceive it now. You can either let it weigh you down like an anchor on a boat, or we can use it to help light the world and fire everybody else up. So
that is the goal.
That is the goal. And you got to remember, there's people out there not ready to hear it. But all you can do is what the old saying is, plant the seed, and then hopefully it can get flourished by other people or by you again later. And hopefully they do wake up and do the best they can in life.
I agree, James. I think you and I woke up in our own times, right? It didn't matter what anybody on the outside was saying. When people used to say I was stressed or overwhelmed, I used to get so offended and be like, well, don't you see what's going on in my life? I've got this, I've got that.
Yeah.
But it's,
you don't understand.
You don't understand what I'm going through.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah, I'm sure when I first got injured, they got here. People got tired of me going, well, until you break your neck. And I would not wish that on my worst enemy for that to happen. But still, yeah, back then I was mad at the world, depressed. Yeah, until you're there, you have nothing to say to me.
Right.
So, yeah, we again, hopefully over time, we learn to accept things and grow, and again, and then use it to help other people.
That too. And I think it's important to remember that just because an event happens doesn't mean it's the end. You could use that as an opportunity to start something, a different life, a different way, no matter how hard it is. But it really does fall down to mindset.
Yeah. Well, it's going to do one of two things. It's either going to stop you and you're at your end, or you're going to move on and do the best you can.
Right.
So it depends how, your mindset lets you do this. So.
Yeah. And it does filter into every other aspect of your life.
I tell you what, I'm glad we got to meet and everything with you, with all you've been through and seeing how you have flourished and helping the world and everything. Well, let me tell you a little bit about one friend of mine. He grew up, his mom, she didn't want to raise him. Her parents, which would be his grandparents, raised him. But she would live wherever they moved. There were always a house in between them. a trailer in between them, that close to her mom and dad and him, but didn't want him to be raised by her. She remarried, had 2 other kids. But I remember here's his train of thought from growing up the way he was. I don't know, probably 17, 15, 16, 17 years ago, Tennessee, the lottery was the first time it was going to hit $500 million, 500 million. I
Wow.
saw a friend, that was 18 years ago, I guess. Saw a friend then, he said to me, he said, man, you see how much that lottery's up to now? I said, yeah, man, what I could do with that. And he said, yeah, I sure love to win it. But if I did, they would take my food stamps away from me. I said, what? He said, yeah, if I won, they would take my food stamps away. I said, you couldn't live off $500 million that you need $114 a month food stamps? But that was his thinking, the way he was brought up, from
It's
there.
it's also about being worthy.
Yeah. So, but that's his, and he's still like that, today, of course. Yeah, but it's sad that someone's brought up like that. Yeah, his worthiness was so low,
That
being brought
yeah.
up the way he was, and it trained his mind and his life to be that way.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I've seen energetically in my own life that when you have a lack of worthiness, it's harder to hold on to money too.
oh yeah, I can believe that. I can see that. Yeah, these people that don't have 2 nickels rubbed together, and they got a tire that went bad, and now they got to figure out how they're going to get a new tire. Yeah, I've seen people like that before. Yeah. So, all right, I got this one. I think we're about ready to move on, but one dumb question here: why did you become an attorney? So you can go after your bullies, maybe not yours particularly, but other people bullies, and stand up for your clients. And this is the way you can shut them down. Or
So
you would just in your genes, you said, all right, I'm going to be a lawyer. So,
until I wrote that book,
mm-hmm.
I always thought it was because my parents watched a lot of Perry Mason. And
Hey, my mom, she still watches Perry Mason. She's 85
yeah,
years old.
so we watched a lot of Perry Mason with them. And I always thought it was because of that. But when I started writing the book, I'm like, no, it wasn't because of that. It was because I didn't have a voice and I wanted to be a voice for other people. And I have
Mm-hmm.
done that throughout my profession. Even when I didn't have a voice and was a lawyer, I would fight for my clients like no tomorrow. And it was almost like you're overcompensating for what is happening in your own life.
Mm-hmm.
So I always thought it was because of Perry Mason, but sorry, no, it's not.
I tell my mom, I take care of her now. She's moved in with me, and she's 85, got dementia. And I tell her doctors, I'll say she goes to bed with Perry Mason and she wakes up in the morning with Perry Mason. So, because sure, last thing she watches Perry Mason. First thing in the morning, she's turned it on. There's Perry Mason. So, but well, I'm glad you've definitely found your voice to help other people. Isn't it sad that it took, well, again, like you said, going through what you went through made you what you are today. And it's one of them things I wouldn't wish it on anybody else, but I'm glad I did go through it. So, I wouldn't wish spinal cord injury to anybody, but I'm glad that what I went through has put me where I'm at today. And I tell people, who knows, if it wasn't for what happened to me or to get me where I'm at today, I may be laying underneath the river bridge with a cardboard box wrapped around me, homeless, wondering where my next meal would be. I mean, we don't know that. Hopefully, I would have had a better plan, but we don't know that. And so, could be.
But look at you now. You bring so much laughter in for everybody and joy, and through your podcast and everything. I mean, really, this really is a talent. And I know they said it in the speakers competition, but I'm so behind it. You should explore it because you have
I appreciate that. I'll take 3 minutes here before we get ready to leave. The reason I started my podcast is the last, when we talked, and Kevin was asking questions because I said the people thought I was suicidal my first 5 years, and which I never attempted. If Kevin would have kept pushing, 30 years later, I attempted suicide 3 times in 3 days.
Oh
That's
my
how
gosh.
bad I wanted out. And the last day, they found me sucking carbon monoxide in my van. I got out of my wheelchair with the garage closed and sucking carbon monoxide. And I got out of my wheelchair. That way, if I felt bad, I wouldn't go call 911 or something. And got out of the wheelchair and lay down so I wouldn't be able to call for help. And someone come to visit, found me. I was in a hyperbaric chamber for 4 or 6 hours, forcing
my
carbon
God.
monoxide out, oxygen in hospital 7 weeks. And then I tell people, and when you live through a suicide attempt, they make you see a psychiatrist. So I had to see a psychologist for a year, and he's the one that said, James, the Lord didn't take you for whatever reason. You got a mission. You need to go out there and help other people, write a book. And then the book ended up being to a YouTube. Well, write a book. He said, get into Toastmasters, start speaking, get out there and be a public speaker to help other people. And then that led to me doing a YouTube channel. And then finally I go, tired of people. People were tired of hearing me. So let me do a podcast where I can get other people up here to get their stories out and help other people that way. By getting them out, we're helping other people. So that's how my podcast started.
I'm so glad you survived that. And I'm sorry you went through that. That is awful. But today, as I said, you bring so much joy and life and laughs to all of us.
Well, thank you. You do pretty good on your end too. So I think it's pretty. I mean, I would say it's funny for me now that you're talking about it in school with all your bullying and everything going on. Your grades were not where they should be, right? And so when I was in school, I tell people I had a strong C. And well, I go strong C, well, barely a C. That's because I was playing sports and I had to have a C average. And the teachers always tell me that, James, you're smarter than this, you're smarter than this. So after I had my injury, then I went back to learn to study and eventually got a doctoral degree. I was, isn't it a shame that I'm a C student in school, but I got a doctoral degree? I was, that's pitiful. So you can understand, that with everything going on in life, everything going in life, you said your grades weren't where they should be, and to hear you're a lawyer. So
I was a C grade student. I did well in college, but I passed the New York and New Jersey bar exam together. So even I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
Well, I already knew that when I first went to college, I didn't go to graduate. I went to hopefully get drafted to play professional baseball, to meet women, and to party. It's the only 3 reasons I went. I
all
knew
the
I
right
wasn't
reasons.
I get all the right reasons. That's right. I knew I'd never graduate. But after you get paralyzed, then your perspective changes. And it's time to do something. And so, like I said, I wouldn't wish a spinal cord injury on anybody, but I am glad that I have gone through it. It's put me where I'm at. So,
and you've done amazing, really.
Well, thank you, and you're the amazing one here. Don't put it all on me. It's you. If you wouldn't have come on here, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today. So I appreciate you coming over. Hey, go ahead and tell everybody your links again, any social media, your website, any programs you're offering. Don't mention that. Forget that book. Okay.
Yes. So Safe from the Pain, as James just put on there, www.emotionallysafe.com. My Insta is emotionally_safe. My Facebook is Poonam Bhuchar. And I do mindset coaching, divorce coaching, combining my legal knowledge of divorce after being an attorney, So you get not just the emotional, but the divorce legal background, and you save thousands and thousands in legal fees by working with me. And can I pitch my new product?
Yes, ma'am. You do all you do. Yes.
So I have a company called Cozy Wheels, in which I've made wheelchair manufacturing luxurious, joy providing, dignity providing wheelchair blankets for people.
Oh, wheelchair blankets. Hey, I could have used that when our house burned down and I'm outside in the snow and someone brought me a blanket because we were watching our house burn. I remember that. So,
God. Well, when my thing is actually, I've got samples. When it's fully in production, I will be sending you one, James.
oh, appreciate it. Thank you. Hey, see, you keep begging, people finally catch on to it.
You
So,
didn't
not
beg. I want
I was
to.
well, I was gonna say no one's ever caught on to my little begging before, but no. Okay, no. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Puna. So, all right, and good luck with the rest of the contest, and hope to see you in Orlando, December 29th and 30th. Yeah, Phil, I'm plugging this here, buddy. So, Amber and Jesse and
Jesse.
Kevin. Yeah, so I want extra points on here because it's not doing it y'all's way. I'm doing it my way. So Puna, but seriously, good luck with you. I hope you do well. I hope you're one of the 5 or how many they're going to pick now to be on the stage down there.
I
And
hope we
hopefully,
are.
well,
We
I hope we would be.
we
And
will be.
and I would love to meet you in person. So
Likewise, James. Thank you so much. This has been such an honor. Thank you.
thank you. Hey, there's people hurting and struggling today, and if you can leave us with a positive message, that'd be a blessing.
Have faith in yourself and believe in yourself. Nobody's going to come and save you. No matter what's happened, it's a moment in time. You can get through it. Faith in yourself and forgive yourself for your mistakes because they're all blessings in disguise.
Amen, sister. Definitely, if you don't have the faith in yourself, no one's going to do it for you. So
Right.
you've got to be able to create that, and it may be hard at times, but you're still the one that's got to do it. So, all right, thank you for everything. Appreciate it. I'm glad we got to meet and everything, and I'm glad I got again. Like I said earlier, the bright light, big flourish flower that we get to see of you from the earlier that you've been able to move. So I'm glad this is the one I get to meet.
Thank you, James. It's such a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, everybody else. Hey, I'm Dr. James Purdue, Professor of Perseverance. Share this out with someone that can use some inspiration. Do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.